Look, it's raining right now. I'm like literally in the middle of a severe thunderstorm. So, first of all, the power may go out, but there's a backup generator. But also, I don't care if you can hear rain or thunder or see lightning, because those are out of my control. Hey, what is up, citizens of Stinktopia? You guys are smelling so stinky lately. I'm so proud of you guys. I've spent my hot girl summer watching cartoons rated TV Y7. The most recent of these being Dead End Paranormal Park. So, obvi, spoilers ahead for it if you haven't seen it, but honestly, super recommend it. It's only 2 seasons, which I will get into later, but 20 episodes, 24 minutes each, really good show. But spoilers if you haven't seen it, which you should. I've grown extremely fond of this show since watching it. I started watching it Monday night and then finished it Tuesday morning. And it's already shot up pretty high on my faves list. It's cute, funny, a little quirky, and has amazing representation for a children's show. Its main character, I know it's technically an ensemble cast, but there's always a character who feels more of a main character. Everyone knows that. But it's one of its main characters, Barney, is a trans man who is gay, so good for him, I guess. But this video is truly about my favorite character, my girl, Norma Khan! Woo! Yeah, Norma! The anxious, autistic, bisexual girly I relate to if I was bisexual instead of lesbian, and if Norma was of white, German, Polish descent. But yeah, other than that, we are totally the same. Before I get into the meat of what this video is about, I want to air out some dirty laundry. Netflix, you're on my shit list, okay? This show deserved way more than 2 seasons, and you did your little Netflix thing and just canceled it. I genuinely think if this was able to have a full run, it would have been able to prosper. And that's I just think Netflix, you gotta stop canceling shows before, before they get good or find their footing. That's it on that front. Now, you may be asking yourself, why are you talking about Norma Khan today? And today I say it's my channel, damn it, and I get to talk about whatever I want. But also, secondly, I love that girl. So I want to take a little dive into her character and why it genuinely means so much to have a character like Norma. Norma is a very literal, deadpan character, and I really like having a character represented where they're allowed to be a little obsessive over their interests. Doesn't have to like affection, which is something you see a lot in children's show, characters being overly affectionate. So it's nice to see the reverse of that. Who doesn't always understand jokes, but also isn't penalized for any of these traits. She's not the characters like her. It's never written off as a joke that she has these traits. And yeah, I really like that. Season 1, episode 3, entitled Trust Me. Also, I have a script for this, if you can't tell where I'm looking. So, that is where I'm looking down at. Season 1, episode 3, entitled Trust Me, is when I was watching and I was like, oh yeah, this right here, this is it. It's a group bonding episode, and Norma is very anxious about it, worried that, she doesn't really have any friends, and worried she's not going to make friends, which is me going literally anywhere. That's what I think. Her mom has to drive her, and she doesn't want to get out of the car, which, me too, girl, me too. I'm literally, this weekend, I'm going to a birthday party for my friend. My established friend who's inviting, my best friend is going to be there as another guest. And I'm still I'm nervous. And I'm driving myself, so maybe I won't ever make it to the destination. Norma eventually has like a breakdown due to overstimulation. And I think Dead End being able to show that in a very real way, and it's not watered down just because of its child audience, is really important because this is things kids deal with, you know? Her character is 17, which I learned in like they may have said it in the first episode. I watched the first episode and then like didn't continue watching it and then just went to the second episode. So her age may have been stated in the first episode, but I didn't learn she was 17 until the second season. I was like, huh? Anyways, even though she's in her late teens, the show is geared towards children, so I really like how they're able to show it. You know, it's not watered down and genuinely looks like she is having a hard time. It's not just her being like, oh my god, ah, and then like she's able to work it out with the power of friendship, you know? It's just genuinely there and that's how she's dealing with it. And I am like not speaking in coherent sentences right now. But yeah, I think it's really important for a show catered towards a younger audience to show a real struggle of something like a breakdown due to overstimulation. Because I've had them, and for a while I was like, I'm literally going crazy. Like, what is wrong with me? Like, I know I've talked about it in at least one other video, but it's gotten to the point where sometimes I get so overstimulated I will just pass out. And that is scary. Like, that, I didn't see it, I didn't know that could happen until it did for me, and it's just insane that I had to learn that that was a possibility by being at a party and passing out on the floor. Like, that's so embarrassing for me. And I had to eat white cheddar Cheez-Its on a couch. Okay? From this episode, sparks up a friendship and eventual crush on fellow co-worker Badia, which also like Badia slays. I love that girl too. But this video is not about Badia, okay? So the thing I really like about this episode is that once she has this breakdown, the people around her respect her boundaries. Like, it eventually becomes when Badia and Norma start becoming friends, Badia offers her hand to Norma to, like, help her get up, and Norma doesn't take it. And it's not seen or written in an act of, like, malice, but just a character trait of Norma that is respected by the cast, like by the characters. Even as the show progresses, Norma is seen to engage in more physical contact. The show doesn't force it onto her, and you know, it's seen at times where a character will ask her like, "Can I have a hug?" And she'll like agree, but even if she doesn't agree, it's not like, oh my god, Norma's so rude, that bitch. Like, it's just the characters are aware that she has, you know, this personal boundary thing. And I think that's really important because I am also like that. And people historically throughout my life have not respected that. So it's nice to see a character who has the same, like, issues. I don't want to say an issue. It's not an issue. But have the same issues as me and have them, and have the characters around her respect that and not think it's like the weirdest thing on earth and think just more physical affection will fix it, because that's not gonna happen. Okay, the more I get touched when I don't want to be touched, it's not gonna help me want to be touched more. Frankly, it does the opposite. Norma's character also isn't put through any less than any of the other characters, because sometimes you see a character with a certain disability or a certain like mental health issues, and kind of their whole thing is that they have this and then that's what they deal with, but never is really given much more. Norma deals with a heap of change throughout the 2 seasons. These changes include a crush and then eventual rejection by Badya. She's betrayed by Pauline, which causes her to fall out of love with her special interest, which is Pauline. But more like specifically, um, what's the name of the park? Phoenix Park, which is like the amusement park about Pauline, and is why her interest in Pauline and Phoenix Park is like why Norma took the job there. Yes, she falls out of love with that because Pauline is she's cunty, but she's also a cunt. I also think season 2 holds a very important episode, that being episode 7, entitled All Dolled Up. This episode shows the relationship between Norma and her mom. There's a lot of tension between her and her mother, especially given the fact that Norma feels like her mom isn't treating her enough like an adult.
I'm not a baby anymore, and I don't eat Pauline pancakes. I don't eat Pauline anything, okay?
That's, you know what? That's the thing that happens. My mom also doesn't treat me like an adult. Not to blame my mother, but being the youngest of 4, let's just say I am 19, I could pay taxes, I am able to vote, and let's just say I am still treated like a baby. But also, when Norma is done with her Pauline special interest, she doesn't really like tell her mom why. Norma just gets rid of all of her Pauline stuff, like in the attic. And her mom is still like giving her Pauline pancakes and giving her a Pauline cup, and is trying to speak to her about Pauline and like saying they're gonna have a movie night, things related to that. And even though the audience now knows that the Pauline subject is touchy, her mom doesn't. Norma never told her mom this. And so, as an audience, we have a little bit more information to go off of, but her mom doesn't. So it's annoying to see, like, oh, my mom isn't understanding why I don't want this. Like, she's treating me like how she has my whole life, whatever. But also, like, she didn't tell her mom. But also, a lot of stuff was going on with her, so I don't entirely blame her. But also, it's the thing of Norma's mom is doing the best she can. Her character has a name, I just can't remember it right now. And apparently I didn't remember it when I wrote it in the script, so whoops. But yeah, Norma's mom is also doing the best she can at trying to communicate with Norma through, like, speaking about her special interest, or what was her special interest. And then once Norma kind of voices her opinion on, like, Pauline, I don't like Pauline anymore. Her mom at first is a little taken aback because that has been her special interest for what seems to be the majority of her life. It does take her mom a second to be like, huh?
Okay, then what should we do together?
But then she starts going through other things of what could be special interest and being like, I support it. Like, Norma has this it's this supernatural podcast with, Badya. And her mom's like, I've been listening to it. Like, if that's what you're into now, we can talk all about that. Which I think is really heartfelt to see about a parent caring so deeply about knowing interests, but also at the same time, kind of annoying if I was in Norma's shoes. But I think this episode is, like, overly relatable, and I think most other autistic people could agree on that. I haven't had many special interests in my life. The majority of the time in my life, it was wildlife and animals. And I guess, it could still be seen as that because that interest has bled over into my education. I am literally a wildlife biology major, so Autism 1, guys. And when I'm able to talk about the subject, or when like someone within my major, we have a conversation about something going on in class or anything to do with that, I am very interested. I'm very confident in what I'm able to say. I'm engaged in the conversation more than if I were to just talk about anything else. The same thing goes with like discussing the music I like. I mean, probably from the background. And I have more posters on this side, but why would I ever show you a corner of my room? That's weird. But there are like a handful of certain artists where I could like talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. Because I've grown so interested and in love with their work. Same thing goes with literally cartoons. Um, I've always loved cartoons in a way that might be a little unhealthy. um, Animation itself is always just. I love animation, and I think it's a very special art form. And so when I'm able to talk about those as well, I, can talk very well. And I feel good talking about those. And when someone else talks to me about it, I'm like, oh my god, this person like literally loves me. They're in love with me. But also, I do think it is important to, when you are friends with or related to someone with a special interest, like it's important to speak to them about that because it is their interest, but also like speak to them about other things, Like even though you're autistic, doesn't mean you only have one thing. Like, I can understand more than just what the things I'm interested in. And I don't just have to talk about those. So I don't entirely blame people, especially parents, for like really getting into their child's special interests because it is like a very special bonding experience. When like you as the outsider also indulge in the person's special interest because it's like it gives you an in and it gives you a way to bond. But Dead End also does a really good job at showing Norma's mom's struggle with not fully understanding why Pauline isn't her special interest anymore, but is able to then eventually, through, the power of love and magical friendship of cartoons, she's able to understand, even if she doesn't fully understand why, she is still supportive. And I think that's really important to see because sometimes you do just fall out of interest with your special interest or like, something more interesting to you. Sorry, I dropped a tank top. Something more interesting to you personally, like, overcomes the older interest. Oh, also, okay. Another funny little part of this episode is after Norma comes out to her mom as bisexual, her mom hugs her, and honestly, like, this is how I hug all too. 9 times out of 10, I am probably a very unpleasant person to hug, and that's just that. Nothing else to say about that. I just think that's funny because that was also, I don't like a hug unless the situation has to call for it, and I have to want it for me to not feel like I am being like crushed. I think just to sum up my thoughts and feelings, having representation like Norma, especially in a kids show, is extremely important. I went the majority of my life not really seeing any characters on TV like me. It was hard, you know. You want to look at what you're watching and see a character like you and be able like, that's me, that's me. And I didn't really have that as a kid. And I think if I was a child when this came out and I watched it, I would be like off the walls ecstatic. Well, okay, guys, I'm gonna be honest, I'm never off the walls ecstatic about most things. Just not in my wheel set. But I would lose my mind over the fact that there was a character really like me with the same traits, with some of the same issues. Like, that's so important for someone to see. And even now, as at my ripe age of 19, seeing a character like Norma Khan still was like extremely heartfelt for me because I'm like, sure, this isn't gonna help me understand myself better, but I'm thinking about the kids who are watching it and are able to see someone like themselves. And even, me now, I'm like, it's fun to see someone like yourself on TV because, I mean, representation has grown a lot throughout the years. But even then, still, representation isn't great. I really don't see many characters like myself or ones I can relate to. So seeing one I like and I'm able to relate to, and we have a lot of the same like traits and personality, it is really heartfelt to see that. And I could get emotional over it. Yeah, but just being able to see a character show these traits freely and be herself without being the butt of the joke or anything, it is really powerful to see. And yeah, that's it. Autism. I can't end the video like that. I will.